Hi everyone, Clara is glad to meet you here again. Welcome to Difference Frames the World, a permanently demonetized alternative voice to mainstream media. Viewers do not have to watch commercials to support us anymore, as the platform demonetized our channel 8 months ago on the pretext of our videos providing no value. Please note that we have open channels on Telegram, Rumble, Locals and Odyssey, which will host all our videos, including some sensitive topics that we are not allowed to discuss here. Today, we continue to summarize the Chinese ambassador to the U.S., Qin Gang's answers to mainstream media on August 16, 2022. We published 5 episodes of the series, and here comes part 6, covering the last several questions Qin Gang answered. Ian Marlowe with Bloomberg raised one more question about the two systems practice in Hong Kong. Because the national security law took effect in a hurry, even people like the chief executive and others didn't see it before it was enacted. I'm just wondering when those of us, who were in Hong Kong, who saw Taiwan opinion change against China throughout what happened in Hong Kong, I think a lot of people in Taiwan look at what happens in Hong Kong and say, we don't want what is happening there. So do you think the national security law in Hong Kong will also go to Taiwan? Qin Gang replied, Hong Kong has been ruled by British colonialists for more than 100 years. Naturally, it takes time for people to get used to the new reality that Hong Kong has returned to its motherland. Hong Kong returned to China just 25 years ago. And over the past 25 years, you can see that generally speaking, one country, two systems, the policy is successful. There were ups and downs, twists and turns, like what we saw 3 years ago in Hong Kong. But we learn and draw lessons and we improve. What we are doing is improve one country, two systems, for the benefit of long-lasting stability and prosperity. If we make a success story of one country, two systems, in Hong Kong, it will help our compatriots in Taiwan to understand better one country, two systems, and to think about the future better. Nahal Tussi with Politico provoked the ambassador. Let me start by how you're approaching all of this. You're sticking to the talking points. You're often not really answering the question. It's pretty standard, I guess, in the diplomatic world. I was just curious, as a Chinese diplomat, do you genuinely feel empowered? Do you feel that the foreign ministry has power in your system? And where do you see Chinese diplomacy going in the years ahead? Because if the US and China will fight or be rivals, wherever diplomacy is going will be a big credit. Can you talk a little bit about Chinese diplomacy? Qin Gang chuckled. First of all, I'm the Chinese ambassador, not a freelance journalist. His words amused everybody in the room. I must represent my government's positions and the will and wish of the Chinese people. He continued. And what I said to you, actually, is heartful. I'm not telling lies, not spreading disinformation or scaring people. I just tell you the truth and facts. As everybody has heard, I'm not always sticking to the talking points. Of course, we have talking points on thorny issues, like what officials of the White House and the State Department are doing. But I give more elaborations on our policies. And if you conclude that what I talked about are all stereotypes and rhetorics, you are wasting your time. I hope that everybody here today finds this conversation necessary and helpful, and it is my wish. From my point of view, I gave plenty of information. To answer your question, what is China's diplomacy? China's diplomacy is to be friendly with the rest of the world, to protect China's interests better, as diplomacy of any other country is doing. And also, China's diplomacy will work for peace, security, and joint development. Here in the United States, my colleagues and I would like to be a bridge linking the Chinese and American people. I am not here in this country only talking and lecturing. At this challenging moment, I want to listen, communicate with people, reach out to people of different communities, and listen to people for their observations. Why our relationship now is going downhill. I will ask for their wisdom about how we can get out of the difficulty. What can we do to make our relations stable and productive so that our relations will not be driven by fear but by common interests? And I need people to help, telling me their suggestions, so I can digest them and report to Beijing. My role is a bridge, a listening post, and a helping hand. Nahal Tussi asked whether Qin Gang would give each of the journalists a separate interview at some point. You want to be a bridge, sharing our wisdom. And I'm not saying any of us are gonna give you any advice, but maybe. He stopped and Qin Gang gave an affirmative answer. You're always welcome. Steve Clemens with The Hill asked the ambassador how China would respond to a possible visit to Taiwan by a new House Speaker, say, a Republican. A lot of Republicans applauded Nancy Pelosi's trip, he explained, and a lot of people anticipate, perhaps, the Republicans coming in to control the House. And thus, you may see another Speaker of the House want to go to Taiwan quickly, maybe Kevin McCarthy, maybe another leader. How would China respond in the case of Speaker of the House going to Taiwan? Qin Gang replied, I have noted that there was no Republican on Nancy Pelosi's visit, although, as you mentioned, they are supportive of the visit. And China has always been opposing congressional visits to Taiwan. The Speaker of the House is not a person in the street. He or she carries great sensitivity and importance. And he, or she, when visiting Taiwan, violates the U.S. commitment that the United States will not maintain official links with Taiwan. I can't answer hypothetical questions. Let's wait and see. But China will make our decisions or take our actions to defend our territorial integrity and national sovereignty. I hope that Nancy Pelosi is the last speaker to visit Taiwan. It was the last question Qin Gang answered that day, and the interview ended. Most journalists did not get what they had expected. It is worth mentioning that the interview lasted 90 minutes, and the Chinese ambassador answered around 20 questions raised by journalists from over 10 world-renowned news agencies like Reuters, Bloomberg, The New Yorker, The Washington Post, and the like. Most of those questions were provocative, with little difference from the accusations of some Western officials. As Qin Gang answered all their questions flawlessly, they were disappointed. They should have regarded the Chinese diplomats' replies as diplomatic rhetorics of little value to their audiences. Although those news outlets could not cover Qin Gang's mouth, they were reluctant to relay his voice to the English-speaking world. As we said in a video published 1 year ago, English is an international language, or a world language, resulting from hundreds of years of colonization, which is a scar and shame to the whole human race. China has been in an underprivileged situation having its voice heard. When Donald Trump, Joe Biden and other officials or lawmakers blame China for every problem the U.S. has, they talk to the world in English, the first or second language for many people on Earth. This universal language is one of their rarely found commendable merits compared with their counterparts in other non-English-speaking nations. Western media, likewise, dominate public opinion, and as a result, they frequently muffle different voices and amplify their narratives. As we said earlier, we have not found any Western media report on what the Chinese ambassador said to their audiences, and DFTW is the first channel delivering his words. Most likely, those journalists wanted to find some thrilling headlines, expecting Qin Gang to leak some sensitive information. However, they did not expect the Chinese ambassador to the U.S. is a seasoned diplomat, much more experienced and composed than his counterpart, Mr. Burns, who is anything but a bridge to link the United States and China together. We have spent nearly a week on the Chinese ambassador's responses on August 16, 2022, and we hope viewers can better understand the relationship between China and the United States. The links to all 6 episodes are in the description and pinned comments. Please spread them as widely as possible so more people will be aware of what is happening between China and America on hot issues like Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the South China Sea. From tomorrow onward, our scriptwriter, Mark, will be back and start the unfinished episodes of Let Our Fish Tell How Fishy They Are. We need to thank generous supporters for helping him overcome the difficulty in the past week. Until today, he has reached nearly 60% of his fundraising goal to pay the heavy medical bill for his beloved pet. Please kindly share his GoFundMe page with as many people as possible, so he and his family can quickly go through the challenging time.